welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult content so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. Tonight, we're going to continue our series on the Goetia with the 61st spirit of the Goetia, Zagon. All right, we are doing this live. We're recording live in front of our community. If you would like to join us live so that you can take part in the after discussion, check us out at Working Dragon Mystics online community. You can find the links below or at workingdragonmystic.com. All right, let's get into this. All right. Zagon, Z-A-G-A-N, not to be confused with Dagon or any of those other things. Though many people do wonder if Zagon is where some of those names came from. I don't personally think so, but that's a story for another time. This particular spirit's appearance, all right, appears at first in the form of a bull with griffin's wings, but after a while putteth on the shape of a human. Pretty straightforward, right? And this is one I will say, like the whole bull with the griffin wings seems to show up a lot. Like this one just, yeah. This is one that actually seems to hold true. And it does take a while. And by while, sometimes it'll be during the same invocation, they'll take on a human shape. Other times, you have to work with them multiple times before you'll see the human shape. So if a talking bull with griffin wings bothers you, just be prepared to look the bull in the face, as it were. Just don't get the horn. All right. Associations most often associated with Zagon is rank, king / president. Technically, in most things, he is listed as a king, and that is also true for the basic Goetia. There are a few demonology references in other areas or rewrites of the Goetia, which sometimes refer to him as a president. So it does pop up a lot, but in most texts that I've ever come across, it lists him as a Goetic king. Metal most associated with him is gold. Planet most often associated with him is the sun. Color most often, yellow. And the element most often associated is earth. Easy peasy, right? I like to think so anyway. Now, this is one that when we get into its modern uses, this is definitely one I get a lot of questions about in my email and in the community, direct messages and the like, because this is one where people's like, how is this useful in real life? And his original purpose in the Goetia reads something along the lines of turn wine into water and blood into wine, also water into wine. He can turn all metals into coin of the dominion the metal is of. He can make fools wise. Okay. Now, first off, turning wine into water, that's just rude. Seriously, come on. That's just not nice. And then people's like, I don't understand the blood into wine. That is, I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard it to be used as reference as to intoxicate. Because if your blood alcohol content is high, then you're intoxicated, you're stumbling, it's not a good situation. So that's the reference I've heard of it, but outside that reference, I'll be honest, it makes no sense to me either outside that reference. And also water into wine, hey, biblical reference, water into wine. Now that's a trick. That's a trick. I always used to joke in church that one of my favorite things about Jesus was his first miracle was to keep the party going. Just to keep the party going. Luckily, the people around me thought the joke was funny. Whether you all do or not, I don't know, but they did. All right. Turn all metals into coins of their dominion. This one I've heard debated with several magicians. Some think that the coin representation is that of the representation there of the metal itself. So look more to the planetary dominion of the metal, and a coin or seal therein could be. Others think that it is essentially the coinage and dominion of what the gold or the silver would represent in that area. Because back then, when coins were minted, they were minted for a specific area. So it wasn't like just a little gold disc. Like every region and area had their own actual minting into the coin. And even though they're all gold, certain places wouldn't take coinage from other areas, that kind of thing. So that could be that. So that is one thing that would be useful. And to be quite honest, if you had a stack of cash or coins or whatever, and you go someplace they don't take your coins or cash, and you could contact an entity to cash exchange you, that'd be kind of neat, right? Kind of like if I left and went on a trip to Japan, I would need me some yen, right? US dollars ain't going to do me a lot of good in Japan, I don't reckon. I'd need me some yen. So I'd have to transfer that. That's another thought process on it. Others, they simply think this means to take metal, make coins. Easy. I don't know for sure on that one. That one is really super confusing. And that, along with the whole wine business, is really why a lot of people's like, I have no idea why I'd want to work with this thing. Except the last sentence, which is make fools wise. World could use a lot more of that, honestly. But yeah, so let's get into this, and let's get into areas where a lot of people have found this entity useful in modern society in a way that actually makes sense. Shall we do that? First, help to draw out inner wisdom of those who work for you. All right. So if you have an employee, a friend, anyone who's helping you do things or work for you in some way, they're on your team. They don't specifically have to be employed by you. You could be on the same team doing something. And I'd say most of us has had that ludicrous, chaotic, absolute freaking idiot that couldn't even sit on a stool if they tried. They're still part of your team. As much as you may want to toss them off a cliff, as many as you much wish to duct tape them inside a closet and close it, they're still part of the team. And if we do any of the previous, we have to shoulder their work, but we don't want to shoulder their work. So this entity could help you to pull out some of that inner wisdom that they would actually have the potential of, and hopefully get them to be a bit more helpful and productive and focused on the matters at hand, right? Pretty handy. I've met a lot of these people in my life, and I will say this one works. It really absolutely does work. Unfortunately, it doesn't work as well as I like it to work, but it does get them to focus and actually pull their share of the work quite a bit more. Now, that being said, if you have someone who's long-term in your life, this is one that you could use repeated work, as long as they're also trying to self-improve, and it actually really can boost them. It can really bring that common sense back. It really can. You'd be surprised how much wisdom a person can pick up if they're working to improve, and you've got this entity helping pour some wisdom in their noggin as well. Something to consider. Next up, we got aid a friend to see their mistakes so they can correct them. That's pretty straightforward if you ask me. Most people don't correct their mistakes, their behaviors, or whatever we may call their stupidity, because they simply don't see that they're doing it. They simply don't see it as a problem. They don't see it as an issue, anything like that. And even if you walk up and say, hey, you need to quit drinking 2 gallons of whiskey a night, that's not good for you, they may be like, you're an idiot. I've been doing this my whole life. Right. We all know 2 gallons of whiskey ain't good for you. Actually, good, might kill you. So you get the point. This would help them see the errors in what they're doing, why what they're doing, the process, the patterns, and the habits they have is actually not good for them or their goals in life, right? That is where this one excels. However, also understand there are people who can genuinely will see the problem with a habit, with a choice, and not care. This doesn't make them care. It only allows them to see it, okay? So if you use this, you also have to be okay with the fact that they may not care. Even if you care, they may not care. It's harsh, but it's true. All right. Next up, aid in making sound judgments on investments and money. I think we could all use a little bit of that, honestly and truly. This one does need a bit of caution, though, okay? This one will aid you in making sound judgments on investments and money matters. However, do not get blinded by your emotions in any of these matters, right? If you are making sound judgments and investments, you are doing your due diligence, you are looking at all the details, and you are looking at the risk versus reward concepts, all that. You are actually applying logic and wisdom to where you are putting your money or your investments. This aids you in that process, right? This doesn't mean that just because that horse has the name you like, or that stock has a name you like, or your buddy down here, Jim, Tom, Billy, Bob, he gave you this hot tip. That doesn't mean it's a good idea, right? Your emotions can still very, very much color this. In fact, when you're doing this, I would leave emotions entirely out. If it's emotional, don't touch it. So do with caution, because even if it's a good choice, even if it's a good risk versus reward, you could still lose money, right? So be careful. A lot of people use this as a reason. Like I've seen people use it at a casino. First off, that's just stupid. Let's be honest. You don't really have enough control over that under any circumstances. This doesn't say anything about gambling. This is only dealing with money and investment, not luck, chance, and stuff like that. Okay. So be mindful of that. Don't be blinded by the emotions on that one. Okay. Next up, we got help one speak with wit and wisdom to open others at ease, to put others at ease, especially in matters of money. Here we got that money again. So we are seeing all the coinage from his original purpose, right? We're seeing a lot of that here. Now, there's a few people I do think could benefit from this, even people I know here in our community that could benefit from the concept of putting people at ease in matters of money, right? If you're in sales, that could help out quite a bit. If you're in negotiations for investment, or getting people to invest in your business, or you're considering investing in theirs, blah blah blah, all those little things where money might come up, or you're trying to negotiate better rates on, I don't know, house rate if you're buying a house. Okay, those are places it can be useful. However, we have to put a note on this one as well. This might not make you more convincing overall, or for the sale. Like, this isn't going to specifically make you a better salesman. This isn't going to make you a better negotiator. It's not going to do that. This just makes you more charismatic, more wise in the conversation. You're talking like you know what you're talking about, and wisdom, the wisdom it gives you should make you understand what you're saying. It Wit, that's humor, that's joke, that's relatability, those kinds of things. Those things are going to help put the person at ease, relax them, make them comfortable with you, make them not view you as a greasy used car salesman, right? We all, every time we meet a salesman, let's be honest, we all think it, don't we? We all do. So that is going to be there. But even though it's not going to necessarily make you a better salesman, it is going to make you a more approachable, easy to converse with, talk to individual. And if you apply this at the correct time and you utilize it and leverage that charisma correctly, that could actually help you increase your sales if you're already doing everything else, right? So that could be very handy. A lot of people I talk to do find this one to be a little bit trickier to get it to leverage, because you got to time it right, and getting that timing can sometimes be a little trickier. What I have found in the past works best, instead of I have this sale that I'm doing, or we're having this big sale on Thursday and I got to try and get as many commissions as I can, instead of just doing that, work with this entity long term to understand how to better your charisma, better your wit, better your conversational timing, better your body language, even better how to put yourself together, perhaps dress, to get those people into that comfortable state, so you are more approachable in those matters, and that they are going to be relaxed discussing finances, money, and purchases with you. That would be the better ideal, because instead of trying to get the timing exactly right, you're bettering yourself in that overall knowledge space. That way you can apply that timing whenever is necessary for you throughout your life. That would actually be the better way, in my personal opinion, to apply this one, even though a lot of people try to use it as just a quick fix, flip the switch and done, and get into time. It's a pain in the rear, to be in all honest. So just my 2 cents on that particular one. You can take it, use it that way, or you can try the old fashioned way. I don't really care. That's just my 2 cents over time. Of course, we always like to get the sigil up here, so I'll make sure we get the sigil here on the screen. Those watching in the community, the thumbnail was the sigil, so you all know that. If somebody needs it shared in the chat, let me know. I'll also share it there for you all. That's pretty much it. Community, while you're watching, if you have any questions, go ahead and start typing those, and we'll do the open Q&A in just a second. Now, for me, I've gone over a few of my things with this particular entity. Like I said, for that last one, it's better to build your own timing and work on your wit and your approachability and your charisma and wisdom, and so that people are comfortable discussing money matters with you. I think that'd be great, especially if like you work in a loan, savings, loans, or banking or anything like that, or sales. The making sound judgments and money. I've used that one. I have. I do heavily caution any emotional decision in matters like that ever, but especially when you're using Magick. Because when we are using Magick, when we're working with entities, we forget we can superimpose our wants, our desires, and our emotions onto the entity, onto the evocation, and that will cause a distortion of information we may or may not be receiving. And at that point, you're better off not doing it anyway, right? Because you're picking blind anyhow. So I do caution in that area. Helping friends see their mistakes. I like that one. I've used that quite a bit, and it has been a fascinating one to use, and it has done well for me over the years. But over the years, I've also had to learn that I have a lot of friends who really don't care how they live their lives. They really don't. They absolutely do not care. And to this day, many of them look at my focus on self-mastery and empowerment, and they actually get a giggle out of it, because they think I would be better off serving my time, not taking things as serious as I do, which is kind of funny because anyone who knows me knows I don't take too much all that seriously. I'm cracking jokes all the time, but from their perspective, I do. So there's that, right? But it's always nice to be able to have someone see their mistakes. And I would say there's an added bonus too, because if you're really worried about someone, if you're worried about how they're living, how they're the choices they're making, and you utilize this and they can see that and they continue to do it, you also know it's time to let go of worry, because until they're ready to change, they won't, right? And that's a harsh reality in life. But this will allow you to know which is which. And of course, that inner wisdom. You know what? I said it from a comical perspective of the little nutcase who can't sit on a stool kind of concept and everything, the annoying coworker, whatever. But honestly, helping any of your team members to better themselves, to be able to draw greater reserves of inner wisdom and apply those to life and projects, I don't see how that's a bad thing. I really don't. Perhaps, I mean, anyone who's read The Hobbit Mall knows there's warnings about too much wisdom. You can know too much, and perhaps in that case, yes. But I don't like if you're utilizing this on a coworker or something, or a friend or associate. Odds are you don't already see them in the category wise, so I don't think you're going to really bump into that know too much side that Odin warns about in the Hobbit Mall. But that's again my 2 cents, right? You got to be the final judgment call in any workings that you do, right? Because we're not here to judge. We're just here to give some occult information and data and let you utilize it to the best of your ability within your own personal practice and path, whatever that may be. All right. Till next time, everybody, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.